Hey guys, Stefan Fischer here from All of Road. I hope you guys are well. This video was supposed to be a DJI Power 1000 V2 product review, but instead it is something very different. Today I share something which affects everyone who is watching YouTube reviews to make purchase decisions. What I'm about to show you may make you question some of the DJI product reviews you have seen on YouTube, especially the ones without any clear disclosure. So fasten your seatbelt and stay tuned for what is about to come. Before we get into the subject, I really would like to ask you to help me. I'm doing these now for 14 years and there's very little reward for creating these videos for you, as you will see later in the video. I really would like to reach the 100,000 subscriber mark, and I noticed a lot of you are not subscribed. So it would be greatly appreciated if you could subscribe, and please also leave me a comment in the comments section and watch the video in its entirety, because that tells YouTube that the video has valuable content and it will show it to more people. So please help me to crack that 100k mark. I think after 14 years and over 400 videos, I've earned it. Thank you very much. Let's get into it. I want to be clear that I'm sharing my experiences with a particular offer I have received and my concern about what these type of arrangements may mean for consumer transparency. I'm not making any claims about the quality of DJI products. I continue to use them and I have spent over 20k on DJI products in my lifetime. I'm also not claiming that other reviewers have acted improperly. I simply don't know what the arrangements are and what they may or may not have signed or received for their review. My focus here is on transparency. A few weeks ago, while on the Pilliga trip, I received an email from DJI asking me whether I would be interested reviewing their Power 1000 V2 portable power bank. Well, I had never DJI contacting me for any reviews, and given how much money I spent on their products and that I use a mobile power bank on pretty much every trip now, I definitely was very keen to take up that offer and test and review one of the DJI power banks. I was also quite excited because it wasn't one of the third-party marketing agencies, but the email came directly from DJI. However, what happened next was eye-opening. Right from the start, DJI offered me 800 Australian dollars for the so-called review. I immediately explained that I don't do paid reviews. My policy is clear. I only accept paid sponsorships for products I have previously and independently tested and can genuinely recommend. I also will always disclose that this is paid sponsorship. They also sent me their content brief, and this wasn't a simple product information sheet. The content brief was watermarked with my channel's name. It's common for companies to watermark documents for tracking, though I can't confirm DJI's intent. The brief contained detailed talking points and requested the video focus on positive aspects and avoid negative critiques. In other words, it read more like a promotional brief than a standard independent review brief. When I asked to see the non-disclosure agreement before committing, they kept pushing for me to agree to the collaboration without reading the contract first. When I saw the NDA, I was surprised by several clauses. The NDA included a confidentiality clause that would have prevented me from disclosing the existence of our discussions and negotiations. In practical terms, that would have stopped me telling my audience that DJI had approached me. The NDA also required California jurisdiction and arbitration, making it practically impossible for an Australian reviewer to challenge any breaches. If I had signed this, you would never know that DJI had approached me, offered payment, that there were content restrictions, or that this was anything other than my own independent decision to review their product. Here's a direct quote from their email. We kindly request the video content to focus on the positive aspects of the product. Please avoid including any negative mentions or critiques. When I explained this was incompatible with my review principles, that my audience trusts me because I don't hide product limitations, they made their position crystal clear. They immediately withdrew from the collaboration. To be absolutely clear, I rejected the arrangement because it was incompatible with my editorial independence and audience transparency principles. not because I had any information suggesting the product was poor. I never received or tested the product, so I have no information about its actual quality or performance. Just a quick note, I'm not a lawyer and this is not legal advice. I did some research using Perplexity AI and publicly available materials to understand possible legal implications. Based on that research, arrangements which hide the existence of the commercial relationship while presenting promotional content as independent reviews can raise issues under Australian consumer law, in particular Section 18, which prohibits misleading or deceptive conduct. The ACCC has said it is actively monitoring influencer marketing and has taken enforcement action in this space. Whether any specific arrangement would breach the law is a legal question that should be determined by a lawyer with full access to the facts. Why this matters to creators? An NDA that prevents disclosure of the collaboration, combined with a brief that requests promotional content presented as an independent review, places creators in a difficult position about compliance and transparency. That's why I turned the offer down. Not because I have information that the product is poor, I never tested it, but because the terms were incompatible with my editorial independence and transparency obligations to my audience. Are you a content creator who have rejected these kind of agreements or even accepted it and regretted it? Please let me know in the comment section. I'm keen to hear your take on it. So let's now talk about the $800 offered for the so-called review. First, let me be absolutely clear. I do not do paid reviews. However, I do accept sponsorships for products I have already tested and could genuinely recommend, whether I use them or not. That's a completely different arrangement with full disclosure about any sponsorship. But let's hypothetically assume I do accept paid reviews under the strict premise that I could be honest, share my pros and cons, and disclose the commercial arrangement I have with the company to you. Even under those conditions, let me break down why an $800 offer plus a free battery bank is problematic. To review a battery bank properly, it means at least 1 to 2 days in the studio, testing and filming. Then I also like to take the battery bank at least on one trip, but often also on more trips. And then there's the editing part. Around 2 days to up to a week, depending on how complex the project is and how much footage I have. That doesn't take into account the tens of thousands of dollars I spent on camera gear, lighting gear, studio outfit and the likes. So if I apply a standard professional rate, say of $1,000 per day, we already be looking at production costs of several thousands of dollars. And here's what the $800 do not take into account at all. The 14 years I've spent building these channels' credibility and audience. That's 14 years of consistent content, learning, improving and earning your trust. Think about it this way. It would be like asking a newspaper to run your advertising, but you're only paying what it costs the typesetter to lay out your ad. You're not paying for the newspaper's circulation, their reputation and decades of work that build their readership. But here's the critical part. Even if the payment was fair, I could only accept these if I maintained complete editorial independence and provided full disclosure to you about the commercial arrangement we had. Australian consumer law requires this transparency. Without it, both the company and the creator risk serious legal consequences. In my opinion, when companies offer below market rate, yet still demand full editorial control and confidentiality, it suggests they are targeting creators who don't know their worth and the possible legal implications. And in my view, that's not a fair exchange. But I already can hear the comments in the comment section, yes, but you make a lot of money on YouTube releasing these videos. Well, that may be true for big content creators with millions of views. So let me show you a few of the better performing videos and what I made on these videos. I think these shows quite well. Reviewing products, for me at least, it's more a labor of passion and love, and I like to test new products and report about them. It's certainly not a money-making enterprise. I'm retired. For me, this is a hobby and has never contributed to my living expenses. but I really feel for content creators who try to make a living out of it. Let me know in the comment section what you think. So I did some research because over the years I've purchased considerable DJI equipment based on reviews, often wondering why I discover weaknesses in actual use that weren't mentioned in any review. While I obviously don't know what agreements other content creators have signed, I found it quite telling that hardly anyone seems to display proper disclosure. Sometimes creators mention DJI hooked me up with a product, or that the product was provided by DJI. But that's it. After seeing the content brief and NDA I was presented with, I wondered whether other creators received similar terms. Without knowing what agreements others have signed, if any, it highlights the importance of clear disclosure practices. This is why I value reviewers who clearly state whether they purchased products themselves or disclose any commercial arrangements. So what is my conclusion? Well, I still purchase products from DJI, but I now question some DJI reviews on YouTube unless the creator has clearly stated that he purchased a product or disclosed all his arrangements with DJI. And maybe you should too, because we really don't always know what kind of agreement might exist, what kind of payment reviewers receive, and what they are or aren't permitted to say. What I don't understand, what drives a company to require these kind of terms from content creators? Based on my research using AI tools and publicly available information about Australian consumer law, I have concerns that arrangements like these potentially conflict with Australian consumer law, in particular around disclosure requirements. However, I'm not a lawyer, and if any specific terms breach Australian law would need to be assessed by a lawyer and not by myself. If you have genuine confidence in your product, you wouldn't need to stipulate these kind of rules for an honest product review. So while I won't be going out purchasing one of the DJI Power stations, it has sparked my interest. So if someone wants to donate one, I would be more than happy to test it for 6 months and give you my honest feedback after field testing. Keep in mind, I don't know whether these terms are standard operating procedure for DJI or whether this was unique to me. DJI, please feel free to reach out. I'm not closing the door on any company. Maybe companies will realize how important it is also for them that reviewers can honestly review products without any restrictions. And if that is the case, it would be a win for everyone, the consumer, the content creator, and I believe also the company. However, I'm not holding my breath. Let's see what happens. Please don't forget to leave me a comment in the comment section whether you think these kind of practices are appropriate. I also want to highlight that DJI is not the only company who has approached me with agreements that raise concerns about Australian consumer law compliance. In 2024, I reviewed a Bluetti AC2000 portable battery bank, and Bluetti also wanted me to sign a very restrictive product review agreement. It is a bit of a longer story and you can watch the full video. However, I want to share one part here discussing that product review agreement. For example, in a Bluetti review agreement I was sent in 2024. The Bluetti agreement included provisions giving the company significant control over the content, IP assignment language, and confidentiality obligations that would restrict disclosure of the collaboration. Before I wrap this video up, I want to highlight someone who fights these battles much longer than I have, and that is Rossman. He runs one of the most important consumer rights channels on YouTube, leading the right to repair movement. Lewis is an electronics repair technician who spent over a decade showing how manufacturers deliberately make it harder and more expensive to repair your own device. He demonstrates how companies restrict access to parts and manuals, forcing you into expensive replacements or authorized repair centers. What I respect about Lewis is his consistency. Whether fighting Apple's repair restrictions or any company's anti-consumer practices, he maintains the same stance. Consumers should control the product they purchase. When I was dealing with the DCS issue, his platform helped bring attention to the problem. The issues I've raised about DJI review manipulations are just one part of a larger pattern Lewis has been documenting for years. If you care about consumer rights, check out his channel. And lastly, I really would hope that this video reaches as many people as possible, and for that to happen, YouTube needs to pick it up in its algorithm and show it to more people. You can help YouTube doing this by sharing, liking, leaving me a comment in the comment section, and by watching the video in its entirety, because that is an indicator for YouTube that the video is of interest and it will be shown to more people. Yeah guys, that's the end of the video. I hope it was useful information for you. Please keep in mind this is a privately funded channel, and if you want to help me continue making these videos for you, please consider heading over to Patreon or buy me a coffee, and with the equivalent of a cup of coffee or two per month, you can help me to create these videos for you. Thank you very much, and I hope to see you on the tracks.